What is next for Allen Robinson in Chicago? Is it the franchise tag? Is it a long-awaited contract extension? Or will AR hit the streets in 2021 and leave the Bears? Today, in episode number 99 of Uncut, we're going to be deciphering Allen Robinson's situation in Chicago and predicting what happens to him next. Let's get right into it. How is it going, guys? Welcome back. Beared Down Uncut, where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. You're going to see 2 episodes of Uncut today, getting us to that monumental 100th episode. It's been a great year of Uncut. You guys have absolutely loved the series, and we're glad to do it for you guys. It gives us creative freedom to record about whatever we want, and you guys get our uncut, raw emotions about all of it. So welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Chris Malpe. To the right of me, I am joined by both of my co-hosts, Parth and Jaylen McClinton. Guys, early on a Thursday morning, we're back at it, grinding again. How's it going?
Yeah, it's pretty early. We usually don't record at 11 a.m. We're more of the late night recorders, but when you're pumping out 2 episodes a day, you gotta spread it out. So
2 episodes every day, December, baby. Jaylen, what's going on?
Cool. I'm actually in class right now, so but yeah, I'm trying to make sure I focus and do this at the same time. But I rather talk some Bears football than listen in English class. So.
It's good to know that you have your priorities set.
I don't think my mom would be happy about my priorities right now.
Just tell your mom you're talking about the Bears in a history class, talking about the 1985 team or something like that. All right. Yeah, let's hop right into it. So Allen Robinson, obviously, as we all know, the best player on the Chicago Bears' offense. The most important contract extension coming up this offseason. There's been debates all offseason. Earlier on, around when Tariq Cohen got extended, we knew about up until then, week 2 or week 3 of the season, that Allen Robinson was working on a contract extension. He was asking for around Tyreek Hill money, something around $18 million. Ryan Pace offering around $15 or $16 million. Robinson this season has had 71 catches for 829 yards, 11.7 yards per catch, a long reception of 42 yards, and 5 touchdowns. So it's pressing coming into this offseason. The Bears are going to have to look to replace him possibly or draft a receiver high in the draft if he does move on. But before we get into that, obviously, as much as there's still a chance of Allen Robinson leaving Chicago, there's also still chances that he does return, that a contract extension does get done, or possibly the Bears end up using the franchise tag. So, Parth, I'm going to ask you first, in your guts, deep down, I mean, obviously, it seems like this situation has turned negative as the weeks have gone on, but what do you see coming up next for Allen Robinson? A possible contract extension, a franchise tag, or do you see him leaving town?
hopefully a franchise tag. I think that's the best opportunity for the Bears. It's going to be hard to keep Allen Robinson. It seems like he already won or like the Niners, I think, the Saints or whatever. So I don't like that. So hopefully we can just franchise tag him, maybe get some trade value, and hopefully just trade him and get something out of it.
Yeah, you lagged out there for a little bit, but you did say the franchise tag part. I also think the franchise tag ends up happening. The question is he going to stay here and play, or is he going to want to go? And that's something that we're going to break down a little bit later in this episode, probably next. But you know what? I think the franchise tag is good because it gives him another year to prove himself. He gets the money that he's been asking for. He's going to get the top 5 base salary of the highest paid wide receivers in the league. So whether or not he stays here or not, Robinson's going to get the money that he wants, whether or not he stays here. So if he gets the franchise tag, he gets good money and hopefully gets signed to an extension. Maybe he gets traded from Chicago. I'm going to root for Allen Robinson no matter what. He's been my favorite player on the Bears ever since he joined this team back a couple of years ago. So it should be interesting to see what happens with him. But I think out of all these likely options, I think the franchise tag is most likely, whether that's Ryan Pace or the new GM slapping that on him. The question also becomes, is he going to want to play with the next quarterback that's in Chicago? We've seen him throughout the majority of his career play with what I would call a washed-up Nick Foles, with Mitchell Trubisky, with Blake Bortles. He hasn't had a great QB throughout his time in the league. So is he going to want to take a chance possibly playing with a top 10, top 15 rookie? Should be interesting to see what he ends up doing. But I think the franchise tag is most likely the option, and that's the route that Allen Robinson ends up going. And the question then becomes, There's a lot of factors with the Bears' new quarterback. Do they make improvements to the offensive line? Does Ryan Pace, the new GM, put a concerted effort into improving this offense to try and convince him to stay? And does he want to play with a new quarterback? So we'll see what ends up happening with that. Jaylen, I'm going to pass it back around to you. What do you think's upcoming for Allen Robinson? A contract extension, the franchise tag, or is he leaving town in free agency?
I agree with what you guys said. Use the franchise tag. Obviously, I'm pretty sure contract talks are, at a standing point. Like there hasn't been much talked about.
Yeah, a stalemate
uh,
for sure.
over the last couple, months. I would say since probably like when he first requested a trade that came out to be false. So pretty sure they haven't really talked about much. He wants this much amount of money, and Ryan Pace is only offering this amount. So I'm pretty sure we're just gonna franchise tag him, and then probably talk about an extension. And if we can't, then after this season, he's gonna be an unrestricted free agent and leave. So it's definitely sad if we don't franchise tag him. It's definitely going to be sad to see him go. He's probably, barring any injuries, he's going to have over 1,000 yards again this season. He's going to be back to back for that. That's our first time since like Alshon left. So not Alshon. Allen has definitely been a key piece of his offense. He's been the best player on this offense for the last two seasons, and losing him is going to be a huge blow for our already terrible offense.
Yeah, it would definitely be a huge blow. It's Robinson's easily the best offensive weapon we have on this team. I mentioned it earlier. There's a lot of factors that go into this. How much are the Bears going to commit into improving the offense? Who's going to be the QB next year? Obviously, we all assume it's going to be someone drafted, but there are going to be some free agent options out there that the Bears could look into. Dak Prescott being one of them. We'll see what ends up happening with him. Cam Newton being another one, someone who a lot of people wanted in Chicago last year, as Jaylen nods his head no. There will be some free agency options, and we'll see what the Bears end up going with. But, Parth, I'm going to pass it back around to you. Get your thoughts here in the middle. Allen Robinson, it seems like it's trending towards the franchise tag. That's just our gut. But if he does get tagged, do you think he'll want to play on that franchise tag in Chicago? We've seen players throughout time not play, boycott the team if they want to trade. So do you think he'll be the type of player that'll play on the team? We've seen him get very unhappy in Chicago this season. So do you think he'll try and force a trade out of here, or do you think he'll try and continue to play in Chicago?
I think it just depends on, our personnel and our coaches. If Matt Nagy's still here, if Ryan Pace is still here, who our quarterback is at the time. Yeah, what's the offensive line situation looking like? It all depends. I think Allen Robinson wants to play for a contender. He wants to play for a good quarterback. I think it's about time he deserves to play with a good quarterback. After playing with Trubisky, Foles, and Blake Bortles, I think it's time like an elite wide receiver like him, can play up to his full potential and play with a quarterback that can actually get him the ball whenever he wants and where he needs it. So I think it's all up to him. I do think he's going to demand a trade regardless of the situation. I think he needs to just leave Chicago. I don't think he's having a fun time here. I know he personally said he would have liked to stay, but I think things have gotten really bad, and it's apparent. I think he and the other wide receivers have been even talking or conversing about it, because you see Anthony Miller liking tweets about going to other teams, and then you see Javon Wims liking a tweet where it's wide receivers die in Chicago or something like that. So I think they've been talking about it. I think it's a unit that those three don't like it here in Chicago right now.
And I don't really blame him with how this offense has struggled in recent weeks.
I don't.
Last in most offensive categories, only to the New York Jets. So, it's tough. And I think probably it seems like Allen Robinson is going to try and get out of here. As much as it hurts to say that, it seems like he would be the one to try and force a trade. But, throughout years, we've seen Ryan Pace commit so much money to this defense. And I've discussed it in the last couple of episodes when talking about freeing up cap space. We've got Akeem Hicks coming up into his contract year, as well as Kyle Fuller. I think some of those contracts will try and either be restructured, or maybe, as tough as it sounds, we try and move on to those guys, move on from those guys to try and get some draft capital, some of that cap money back, and hopefully whoever's the GM, whether it's Pace or someone else, can commit some darn money to this offense, because there's so many problems along this offense. And I think wide receivers and tight ends are probably the least of the worries, if we're being honest, as well as running backs. I think the offensive line and quarterback are the two most pressing issues on that offense. And if Ryan Pace can put some money, some draft capital into fixing that offensive line, getting the next quarterback that we need, I think you could maybe convince him to play another year here and see how it goes. That would be my hope at the end of the day. I think that's the best case scenario now. but it also wouldn't shock me if he wanted out, because why would anyone want to play here right now? So, Jaylen, I'm going to pass it back around to you. If Robinson does get franchise tagged, do you think he ends up playing on that tag or tries to force his way out of Chicago like we've seen guys like Le'Veon Bell do in the past?
I say I personally, I'm not Allen Robinson, of course, so due to all the stuff that he's been talking about, all the liking tweets, I'm pretty sure he's more than likely going to ask for a trade to be traded on the franchise tag. But if I'm Pace, I'll do anything in my power to keep him here. Like I say, he's our best option. He's our best weapon on the offense by far. We don't really have any second, wide receiver that's matching his productivity. Behind him, Darnell Mooney is doing very well for a 5th-round draft pick, but he's not. He's like 500 yards behind him, and Darnell Mooney's our second leading receiver. And then Anthony Miller, he gets his chances, but he barely gets targeted like that. And when he does, sometimes he drops the ball, sometimes he catches it, or he doesn't really get the same opportunities as Allen does. So we don't know what we have behind him. We're more than likely going to have to draft one if we do get rid of Allen. But if like I said, if I'm Ryan Pace, I do anything in my power. I give him the money that he wants, the money that he definitely deserves, and try to keep him here and give him a different quarterback to thrive with.
Yeah, and Allen Robinson, even amidst these tough contract extensions, has continuously said he wants to spend the rest of his time in Chicago. He loves this city. His foundation does great things for this city. But you've seen his agent on social media. I think Brandon Parker get very, very mad at the Bears throughout time, which doesn't seem too great to me, specifically during the Minnesota game. His tweets were going viral saying that the Bears don't throw to Robinson close to enough. So we'll see. I'm sure he could be utilized much better somewhere else, especially with a good quarterback. But before we close this one out, as grim as it sounds to talk about this, Parth, once again, I'm coming back around to you. If Robinson does leave, which is absolutely on the table at this point, I would say, who do you think deserves more reps in this offense? We think I personally think Javon Wims is gone. We've seen him be a healthy scratch for a couple weeks ever since he punched Chauncey Gardner-Johnson in the helmet. Riley Ridley, someone who you've spoken highly of for a while. Darnell Mooney, obviously, someone who's thrived in this offense. Anthony Miller, while he's had consistency issues, a lot of people want him to get more reps and see if he can really step out into a bigger role. So if Robinson does leave, obviously it seems like the Bears are going to look to find at least a decent caliber replacement. But for the guys that are currently on the roster, who do you want to see more of if AR is out of town?
I'd definitely like to see more Riley Ridley. I think he's got some potential left in him. We've seen in the games he's played, he's at least caught a ball. I think it's time to give him more reps. As long as I know, I think Javon Wims might be gone from the team in 2021 after that, punching incident. I don't think he'll be on the team after that. And then Darnell Mooney has been a nice pickup in the 5th round for sure. I think Anthony Miller's been great at times, but he's also super inconsistent. There's been times where he's been, awful, dropping balls in the end zone and a lot of drop balls just in general. So I think,
a lot
Riley
of huge
Ridley,
moments for him as well, though.
Yeah.
But
a lot of
I would
future
say
moments
overall as a draft pick, and I'm sure we'll make a video about this sometime this offseason, I'd honestly probably say I'm slightly disappointed with how he's played.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely disappointed with how Riley Ridley's played. Especially with how the rookie wide receivers from this draft class have been playing. I thought, at least, not Riley Ridley, Anthony Miller. But yeah, you guys got the point. But yeah, I think Riley Ridley should get a chance. I think, with the way wide receivers this draft class have been playing, I think, Riley Ridley could surprise many Bears fans. He's a really good route runner, and he's good height and body. I think he can get up there and catch the ball. He's underrated for sure.
It should be interesting to see the route that the Bears go if Robinson does leave town. I know there's some other good wide receivers definitely that are going to be free agents. The only one that I can think of off the top of my head right now is Will Fuller. And he's someone that would probably be available for around the number that the Bears were offering Robinson if they want to bring him in. But that's obviously taking a chance on his health. So we'll see the route that the Bears go. It's a pretty good wide receiver draft class, and the Bears could draft someone rounds 1 through 3. It really just depends on how whoever the GM is wants to game plan it. But out of the guys on the roster, I got to agree with you, Parth. I think Riley Ridley deserves more of a shot. He's someone throughout his career who I've thought is a pretty pristine route runner. He is Robinson's backup right now. We haven't seen Javon Wims play since that incident. He had a 2-game suspension, and since he's came back, he's been a healthy scratch, and Ridley's been getting all his reps. I would have said Javon Wims earlier because he was doing a good job filling in behind Allen Robinson throughout the season, but I really don't think he's a Bear after 2021. and I don't think there's any reason why he should be after that incident and all the draft capital that we put into him, only a 7th-round pick. So I got to go ahead and agree with you. I think Mooney's role only continues to increase. I'm sure we'll have talks this offseason about what's next for Anthony Miller because his situation's really weird. I don't know if he's going to get extended. But out of the guys we have rostered right now, I definitely would like to see Riley Ridley get some more reps if Robinson doesn't return to town. So, Jaylen, before we close this one off, one final question. If AR does hit the streets, who that is currently rostered on the Bears do you want to get more reps in 2021?
I think I'm going to go with the consensus answer and go Riley Ridley. I was a huge Riley Ridley fan. I was at first when we first drafted, I was shocked because we had all these deep receivers. We had Javon, we had Taylor Gabriel at that time, still had Allen Robinson and Anthony Miller, of course, and we drafted him, and he was basically inactive for most of his rookie season up until like the later part when Taylor got hurt. So, and it was the same thing for this season until Javon got suspended after that punch into deal with the Saints. He played over him the last week because. A healthy scratch. Javon was active to play against the Packers, and he was inactive. So, or actually, it was the Vikings game, right?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
He's played over him the last 2 weeks, actually. Excuse me. So, I definitely feel like Riley really needs an opportunity to play. He was a 4th-round draft pick in that 2019 draft class. He showed flashes. He technically won us a game in week 17 against the Vikings where he caught a huge ball on 4th and 12 that got us into field goal range. So, and he's had his moments. When he got the opportunity to play. So if we do get rid of Allen Robinson, I would see Riley really try to replace his production with Anthony Miller and Darnell Mooney and possibly draft a wide receiver in the early rounds.
Yeah, and then one more question before I close this one off, just because I want to know what you guys think. And it's getting a little bit off topic now, but I just need a one-word answer here. Do you guys think there's any reason Javon Wims comes back, or do you think it's Riley Ridley throughout the rest of the season?
I think it's Riley Ridley. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's consensus there. So should be interesting to see.
I don't think Riley should be not Riley. Excuse me. I don't think Javon should be like cut or anything because of the fight. I know a lot of Bears fans want him cut. Like, why is he still on the team? Like, I get it. That was like probably the wrong time or wrong time to do that. Definitely was. And I agree with that. It's definitely a wrong time to do it, but. I could see why he was frustrated, but I don't think he should lose his job over it. He might be inactive for the rest of the season as his punishment, but next year in his 4th year, in the contract year, I think he should be back to his role.
We shall see. Well, no one really knows what's going on with the Allen Robinson situation. We can only hope for the best, even though it does look grim at times. So thank you guys so much for tuning into episode number 99 of Uncut. If you want more content from us, you can head over to our website, beareddown.com. We're posting columns, articles, and blogs throughout the week to get you guys ready for the Bears' Week 13 matchup with the Detroit Lions at Soldier Field. If you would like to find more content from us on social media, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Beared Down. We're doing a Christmas giveaway very soon, free to enter giveaways. We love giving back to you guys, so be sure to go check that out. And we're going to be announcing a giveaway very, very soon. And finally, you can find the links to all of our social media pages down in the description, Instagram and Twitter included. Be sure to follow all of those. It's a great way to interact with us, and we are active on all of those platforms. Parth Shaw, Jaylen McClendon, and Allen Robinson has undoubtedly been the best weapon in the Bears' offense ever since he's arrived to town. It would be tough to see him go. So any last words?
Yeah, it would definitely be tough to see him go, but I think it's something that Bears fans are going to have to get used to. I think it's more of a reality now than it was in the beginning of the year. I think we should have offered him an extension a lot earlier.
Same here. Still extend A-Rob until we can't extend A-Rob anymore.
Yeah, definitely extend Allen Robinson. I know so many Bears fans want him back. He's always been great to the fans. I love everything his foundation does. It would be really tough to see him go, so hopefully they can work something out. And hopefully, if it ends up being the franchise tag, he'll end up playing on it. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure to be your host. If you made it this far, do us a favor, smash a like, subscribe if you are new. It's been an incredible year, 2020 for us. We've grown the size of this channel by 10 times, and we're only going to continue to pushing forward in 2020. So once again, my name is Chris Malpe. Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We will be back with episode number 100 of Uncut later tonight, so be sure to look out for that one, and we will see you there.